कहते हैं एक माँ ही एक माँ का दर्द समझ सकती है। पर जो हमारी आज की गेस्ट है, शी इज लिविंग दिस फ्रेज, दिस लाइन। क्योंकि जब वो माँ बनी और शी स्ट्रगल्ड विद हर बेबी स्लीप, शी डिसाइडेड कि शील हेल्प आउट ऑल द पेरेंट्स आउट देयर टू नो it is easy how to make baby sleep easy. So today we have with us Amrita Saraf, aka the Mom Uninterrupted. You must have seen her on the Instagram breaking sleeping myths about babies. And today she'll discuss everything that is to know about baby sleep with us. Welcome to Mother of Podcast, Amrita.
Thank you so much, Chandan. Thank you so much. So nice to be here with you.
So, before we dive deep into this conversation, I want you to quickly bust some baby sleep myths.
Okay. First and foremost, I'll start with the most favorite, most common. कि बच्चे को दिन में जगा के रखो तो वो रात को अच्छे से सोएगा, right? Have we, like, if I had a penny for every time I've heard this and I worked with a parent and they have told me, यार हमें ऐसे बोल रहे हैं. This cannot be far from the truth because if your child is staying awake in the daytime, they're getting really, really tired. बहुत थक जाते हैं बच्चे और हमें लगता है कि थका थका के सुलाना है, not realizing कि बच्चे adults की जैसे नहीं होते. They cannot stay awake for 12 hours, 14 hours and then they'll get, sleep. जितना बच्चा थकेगा उतनी ही पुअर नाइट स्लीप होगी. योर चाइल्ड थ्रू द डे builds a lot of sleep pressure, and to diffuse this pressure you need to keep giving them these naps. Okay, अगर वो नहीं करते हैं तो this is a very common term in the baby sleep we'll call overtired. Okay, they get really overtired and by the time night time reaches, जो cortisol levels होते हैं, जो हमारा stress hormone होता है, वो बहुत elevated हो जाता है and बच्चे बहुत डिस्ट्रेस्ड रहते हैं, रात को बहुत बार उठते हैं. कंपेयर टू इफ यू आर गिविंग देम गुड स्लीप इन द डे टाइम, they will have better peaceful restful sleep in the night. So if you want to, whenever I'm working with parents also and they tell me, yeah, my baby is waking up every hour and this is happening and that is happening, I first ask day routine बताओ क्या चल रहा है दिन में. I look at the day because your night sleep is a direct reflection of how your day has gone. जहां पे दिन में अच्छी naps हो रही है वहां नाइट स्लीप बेटर हो जाएगी. So this is like the most common, myth that there is in the sleep, world. Then there's another one कि बहुत सारा खाना खिलाओ, बहुत सारा सॉलिड खिलाओ, या सॉलिड स्टार्ट करेगा बच्चा 6 महीने पे तो you know अच्छे से सोएंगे. That's again not true. On the contrary, the way solid impacts our sleep can mostly be in a negative way. Why? Because 6 महीने का, 8 महीने का, 10 महीने का बच्चा कितना खा लेगा यार. Before 1 year of age, breast milk or formula remains the primary source of nutrition. Okay, solids is for introduction, taste, texture. Now, हम लोग बहुत ज्यादा बच्चे को खिलाते हैं, कोशिश करते हैं पेट भरा रहे ताकि रात को नहीं उठे, नॉट रियलाइजिंग कि बच्चा सिर्फ हंगर के लिए नहीं उठता. They also wake up because they can't connect sleep cycle. They are thirsty, and they're not reached a stage where they can sleep through the night. And that's where they need our assistance. Okay. Now, जब बहुत ज़्यादा आप close to bedtime solids देते हो, yeah, not the right kind of foods. So you have cases of colic, gas, tummy issues, constipation, which then again indirectly impacts sleep. So this is another, myth that there is कि बहुत सारा खाना खिलाओ या पेट भर के आप उसको नहीं खिला रहे हो ना तो उसकी वजह से बच्चा जग रहा है. So that's again not true. There's one more which is like my pet peeve, that because you're breastfeeding, that's why your baby is waking up so often.
मैंने
You
ये
know,
सुना है कि फॉर्मूला शुरू कर दो, रात में पूरी रात सोएगा.
ऐसे नहीं होता यार. If that would be the case, I would be out of a job. It doesn't work like that, right? So formula does not mean formula में कोई नींद की गोली नहीं है जो आपका बच्चा रात भर सो जाएगा उससे. Okay, it's again nutrition for your child, and your child is not waking up because they're being breastfed. On the contrary, melatonin, which is our sleeping hormone, is going from the mother's breast to to the child. So your child is actually falling asleep faster, more peacefully because of breastfeeding. तो आपका issue कुछ और है, breastfeeding comfort है. Breastfeeding is helping your baby sleep, not keeping them awake. So your child is waking up because of some issue, there's some discomfort, if they're waking up multiple times, there's something that's causing them discomfort. अब आप उसमें बोलते हो कि जो ये comfort है, जो breastfeeding है, उसको हम निकाल देते हैं. not addressing the discomfort. Now what happens is the discomfort still stays, and now breastfeeding is also been eliminated. Now your child is still waking up multiple times, and now you have no other option but getting up in the night and keeping rocking them in the night. Okay. So on the contrary, what you need to do is address what is causing your child so much discomfort that they're waking up. Once you work on that, automatically the number of wake ups come down. And then suddenly breastfeeding does not seem such an issue at all, because you're like, acha, ye to breastfeeding ki wajah se nahi hai, ye to issue hi kuch aur tha. So just quickly, these were some, the myths.
So, before we start, कि mom uninterrupted कैसे शुरू हुआ? How did you think of becoming a mom influencer? I want you to tell our listeners कि आप exactly करते क्या हो, क्योंकि इंडिया में स्लीप कंसल्टेंट बोल दो और लोगों को समझ ही नहीं आता कि अच्छा सोने के लिए भी अब हेल्प चाहिए.
I know. So there's like, sometimes we joke also, like when my mother-in-law or my parents are talking to relatives and they're saying, so then I say, नहीं मैं घर पे जाके बच्चों को सुलाती नहीं हूँ. I'm not a nanny. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but that's not what I do. I'm not doing that. Okay, I work in the field of pediatric sleep, the sleep science. So basically, I'm a baby sleep coach, a baby sleep consultant. I work with parents where I guide them on the right approach of their child's sleep, depending on the child's age, what is needed at how many naps they need at what age. I figure out whatever is the issue, what is the cause of concern, why is the baby waking up multiple times in the night, yeah, then my naps kyun nahi ho rahi hai. So basically it's a proper sleep study that I do. I connect with parents. They have a full form that they fill out. I understand the sleep psyche of the child, sleep needs of the child. I create a routine for the parents according to the child's sleep needs and family dynamics and everything. And then we work on bettering the child's sleep so that they are thriving, the immunity is good, overall routine is nice. In terms of everything, hunger is not getting affected because of sleep, because again, hunger is again regulated with good sleep. Cognitive abilities are again related with good sleep. So ye sari cheezein are falling into place. Of course, with older kids, there's a lot of it's not just sleep. There's a lot of different aspects of psychology that are involved. Like when it comes to a toddler or 15-month-old or 2-year-old or 3-year-old. So it's not like sleep issue hai. Honestly, it's the other issues around that manifest into sleep. Okay, so then in terms of older kids, I work on the child psychology. क्या चल रहा है बच्चे के साथ अभी क्या हो रहा है? What is the child going through? What is the child thinking? Where is the parent lagging? Can we build some communication? Can we work on, is there any screen time? What is the activity level? Okay, what is the connection level? What is the quality time? Is there a power struggle? So is a child feeling a loss of power somewhere where now it's manifesting into resistance at bedtime? With older kids, it's a lot of this emotional psychological aspects also. It's not just sleep, but it manifests. So that's what I do. I work with parents. I guide them about their child's sleep needs, and I basically just help the parent and the child sleep better without any sleep training. There's no crying in.
So, what is the age group that you work with? It's 0 to?
I work from 10. The smallest child I work with is a 3 days old.
Oh.
I'm currently working with a mom who's not even delivered, but she's, getting to get ready. So the baby is actually in utero. So I think technically that is the smallest child I worked with. And the oldest child I worked with is a 10-year-old girl.
Okay. तो अब आप मेरे को ये बताओ कि आपने ये मॉम अनइंटरप्टेड नाम क्यों रखा और ये जर्नी शुरू कैसे हुई?
Okay, very interesting question. बहुत मुझे पूछते हैं हमेशा कि what is the story behind the name? And basically it was just me wanting to, as a mother, wanting to live a very uninterrupted life. Like I've always wanted, as a woman also, as a girl, as a young girl, and as a woman, I've always wanted to live a very, very free, uninterrupted way of life where I get to make my own choices and I get to do the things that work for me. And then when I became a mom, I wanted to be a mom like that. I did not want to get contained in a box, and I wanted to live, create my own path and live freely without any societal interruptions. And that's how the whole name was coined, that this is me, this is what my page is going to be, and I'm going to do this, and whoever comes to my page is also going to get inspired to live the same way as a mother. So that's the whole story behind how I coined that name. And I started very interestingly. I actually started because my husband started to push me. It was lockdown time, and he's like, "तुम बस Facebook पे जाके बड़े-बड़े captions लिखती हो, and उधर कुछ हो नहीं रहा है. It's a very small world. You're very contained over there. Website बनाओ." And I said, "हाँ, you're right." So I just because I like writing. I've always been a writer. So I said, okay, why not? So I made a website, invested in a website. I started to post there and started to reach a lot of people, not just maybe outside, also they started to reach out to me. And then I said, yeah, I want to also little bit microblog. And then I said, जो मैं वहाँ कर रही हूँ ना वो मैं Instagram पे भी डाल देती हूँ. तो Instagram बना हुआ था, I was not really using it. Then I started to microblog. By then I had my daughter also. And I started to microblog over there. And जो मैं वहाँ लिख रही थी, I started to write on, on motherhood and all of that stuff. And more and more people started to, reach out and start to read. And they said, wow, this is so nice. We love what you're doing. So relatable and everything. I was just basically just sharing my, journey and my musings and my thoughts about motherhood and what is happening. And it was just that. And at the same time, I was also side by side studying a lot about pediatric sleep. So I said, yeah, मैं भी इसी एज ग्रुप में हूँ, मेरे साथ मेरे अगल बगल के लोग भी सफर ही कर रहे हैं, तो जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन आती है डालते जाओ, किसी को हेल्प हो जाएगी. And that's how I began actually. And I started funnily talking more about, weaning and solids. But at the same time, I was very interested in pediatric sleep also. And so I started to post more about that. And, in my WhatsApp groups also, it just became like a norm कि अच्छा sleep mom groups होते हैं तो अच्छा sleep का issue अमृता को पिंक कर like tag अमृता. So I realized कि यार everybody is suffering, 100% of the parents are suffering and struggling. So there's like a major gap between what we want and what is available. I want to bridge that gap. And that's how I started actually. I actually call myself an accidental influencer. I don't relate with that term, honestly. मैं influencer नहीं हूँ. मैं literally सिर्फ information डालने गई थी और वो तो it's like बोलते हैं ना लोग आते गए and कारवा बनता गया. It became like that. So I still relate as an educationist. Influencer मैं बहुत accidentally बनी हूँ. So yeah. So that was the whole story behind how I started.
So
And
that
then the paid stuff. Yeah.
now you are like I suppose 50,000 strong community around 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, how did your motherhood journey impacted whatever you're doing today? Being a sleep consultant, being out there telling everybody, like, don't rush your child. I just read your post last night, and it was so connecting because I'm struggling with potty training my child. And I read your post and it was like, no, हो जाएगा, सब हो जाता है, सब कर लेते हैं. तो how did it started? How did your own motherhood journey impacted all of it?
So, Chandana, this is something I always have said and maintained that I have been the most successful I have ever been in my career after I became a mom. I owe my entire career to my daughter, to be honest. Everybody who has good sleep because of me actually needs to thank my daughter. Okay, because I always knew I wanted to do something of my own. I knew I don't want to work in a 9 to 5. I just did not have the direction. And I always also knew that a huge part of me wants to do something that impacts others in a very positive way. Okay, but I didn't know what that was. And then I became a mom, and my daughter showed me the way. And I was struggling. We were struggling with sleep, and and then I started to. So the whole thing was born out of my own experience. And this whole, it was very, the initial first few months were extremely painful, extremely hard for us as parents. And my daughter had severe colic. She had a lot of reflux. We didn't understand sleep ka kuch bhi aspect. I really thought ki bachcho ko bed pe literally like kids just flop on the bed and go to sleep. So imagine my shock, and unpleasant surprise. So and then the whole thing was born out of my this pain point. So I, chose to turn this place of pain into place of power for myself. And I said, नहीं यार, ये तो सिर्फ कॉलिक की वजह से मेरी बच्ची नहीं रो रही है यार. This is not possible. डॉक्टर के पास जाओ तो they say कॉलिक है, कॉलिकेट पिला दो. And parents are like breastfeed कर दो. And I'm like, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है यार, ये possible नहीं है. And I started, your mom instinct, your gut tells you, यार, I need to drown out the noise and figure out what is happening. And that's what I started to do. And I realized ki yaar, this is sleep, this is entirely related to sleep. And that's how my whole, I started to apply everything that I was learning, and I started to see results in less than a week. And then I suddenly became like this go-to person for sleep advice everywhere. And then I realized कि यार ये तो मतलब there is a massive gap. And then I was telling my husband that okay, I have a direction now, but I'm still leaning. Should I do work towards solids or do sleep? And then I realized solid के लिए बहुत सारे लोग हैं अभी. There's so many child nutritionists, but यहाँ when you talk about pediatric sleep कोई भी नहीं है. I think one or two people in India. I said नहीं यार ये बहुत major pain point है life का. ये solve करना है. And that's how the whole thing was born. And I have seen so much love, and I've seen such a huge community and so many people who I've worked for, I think, over 3,000 families and kids. Uh and I always say this, that I am successful not in spite of motherhood, but because of it. You know, so I owe my entire career to motherhood. I owe my entire sense of direction to it. I had no sense of direction until I became a mom. And then it became like, okay, there's so many mothers like me. I want to reach out to them. And to puri, it just very nicely, everything fell into place for me. The minute, my daughter was here and she showed me the way. So for me, it began like that. My whole sense of self and direction and my career and कहाँ मतलब क्या करना है अब लाइफ में ना, वो वहीं से समझ में आया. So for me, it's been like a very, very positive journey in terms of work.
So I want to tell my listeners that Amrita was from she was a corporate girl before
Yeah,
becoming a sleep consultant.
8 years. I was in the corporate, yes.
Yeah.
I was visiting was 8 years.
मुझे
So,
ऐसा लगता है ना, माँ बनने के बाद आपको ऐसा लगता है कि यार अब माँ बन गए ना, अब कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. मतलब आई बिलोंग
absolutely,
टू
yes. तो कुछ भी कर सकते हैं बॉस. बच्चा पैदा कर लिया, बच्चे को मारना है. अब तुम बताओ और क्या करना है. Like this is the biggest thing a person can do. And when once you're done, like you're doing that, you realize, boss, you can do anything else in the world. Everything else उसके सामने बहुत easy लगता है,
हाँ
right?
मतलब I belong to media industry. Me and Soumya both. We worked with big names in the media industry, Times of India, NDTV. पर ऐसा लगता है कि वापस तो नहीं जा पाएंगे कभी, क्योंकि आई वांट टू बी विद माय चाइल्ड, बट आई स्टिल वांट टू डू समथिंग दैट इज हेल्पिंग आउट अदर्स. सो दैट्स हाउ मदर
Yeah.
ऑफ पॉडकास्ट केम.
Oh, oh, that's beautiful. Actually, for me also, it was like this. That Chandana, I realized that um, you know, whatever I'm doing, if I have to go back to work, firstly, I always wanted, like I said, wanted to be my own boss and have my own setup and everything. But I realized that even if I ever want to go back to work, like अगर मुझे उठ के office भी जाना है, it has to be so worth it that it takes me away from my child for a couple of hours. It has to like really be worth it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not. There's no way I'm leaving. And it was a conscious decision I took to be a stay-at-home mom for the first 2 years. Quit my job, and I told I'm not coming back and everything. Of course, I acknowledge that I had the privilege to do that. Not every mother has that, so I want to acknowledge that here. But it was a conscious decision. I said, "Nahi, yaar, I won't be with my child." But I wasn't not like not working full time. I would take freelance work, but I chose that time to upskill. It's those that 1.5 year now initially वहां
Hmm.
पे मैंने upskill. It was not like when I was a stay-at-home mom, क्योंकि वो what we call that खुजली तो थी हमेशा से कुछ करने की. वो
Hmm.
क्या बच्चे के आने के बाद समझ में आया. तो I said, why not take this time? Let me upskill. मैं घर पर नहीं हूँ. I'm giving 100% to my child. But breaks में I want to upskill. I figure out, fine. Now I know what to do. Now I have a direction. I need to work on it now. So that's how that's what I did even when I was not working.
So did you also
Not
go to, sorry,
sorry.
I lost you.
I said not yeah. So I said when I was not working at a job, I always want to say this, that when we say that, you're a working mom or you're not working mom, I always say, yeah, all moms are working moms. Only some of us don't get paid, right? Only some of them. So हम work को financial से aspect से तोलते, not realizing yeah, even stay-at-home moms are doing a lot. Like, सब लोग काम करें. All mothers are. There's no mom
हाँ
that's not.
हाँ, मतलब
Only for
मैं और सौम्या तो वी डोंट यूज दिस टर्म एनीमोर, दैट स्टे एट होम मॉम्स एंड वर्किंग मॉम्स, बिकॉज Bhai, everybody is working 24/7.
Yeah. So I always ask, are you like working at a job? Do you have, are you doing something else professionally? But I never say, oh, are you working? Because I know even if you're not at a job, you are working,
You're just
you
not
know?
getting paid.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, आइडेंटिटी क्राइसिस हुआ आपको? क्योंकि मुझे तो बहुत हुआ.
Well, now I was, yeah, काफी हुआ, but it was also more like थोड़ा loss of sense होता है. वो हुआ कि also it was little resentment towards my husband कि यार he's getting to, इसकी life तो change ही नहीं हुई.
Exactly.
ये तो पहले इसको तो कुछ नहीं हुआ. He's gotten up and he's going to work. He gets to go out, interact with adults. I'm not getting to do that. The only adults I was interacting with the whole day was like probably my house helps. I'm like, he's getting to live his life normally while mine has come to a standstill. And I'm inside the room, I'm managing the child. Of course, he's a, hands-on dad. So whenever he's there, he's managing everything. But I don't get to go out. I don't get to, I'm not stepping out. I'm not interacting with adults. My life is not stopped. I'm not feeling a little clueless about everything. There's no loss of income for him. It's there for me. So self-esteem takes a little bit of hit. Sense of self takes a little bit of hit. And then you start to question, what am I? मैं इस motherhood के दायरे के बाहर क्या हूँ और कौन हूँ? And do I have an identity outside of mom? Being a mom, is this my identity now? Or, what is it? Is it how it's going to be forever? Am I always going to feel sad and lost and lonely and all of that stuff? So, I also went through postpartum depression, so it was like crazy for me. But slowly, I realized, yeah, I'm in this only for a season. It's not going to last forever. And maybe for this season, I'm going to be in my mom era, but it will just, there are other dimensions to my personality. So maybe right now my entire personality is being a mom. Okay, but also I also feel, and I always tell this to all the moms I'm working with, especially new mothers, that don't wait for perfection. कि यार अगर मैं पहले, like for example, if my husband and I would go do dinners, before our child was here. So we got for dinners and all of that stuff. Now when the baby was here, we were not able to do that. So now I'm like, either we will wait for her to grow older and then we do dinners. So perfect. Yeah, we just take her with us wherever we are going. We'll do coffee. So we started doing coffee. And when I would step out, I would sometimes meet my friends and I realized ki I want to bring my baby into my world. I want to continue doing what I'm doing. I just bring her into my world. So if I'm stepping out for a cup of coffee, I would just baby wear her and go out. If I would go for a walk and put in a stroller or baby wear, I have literally like lived my life like that because initially it was just her and me. If I had to step out, I would just put her in a carrier and I would go. And I would continue doing those things. My husband and I would continue traveling, just taking her. Obviously, routines change. The way you travel changes. Dinner dates come, coffee dates, or maybe breakfast. All of that. Everything changes temporarily. But I didn't wait for perfection. I never wanted to, do that because otherwise I would just feel very like even worse. And this is something I always advise. I don't wait for कि यार पहले तो मैं workout करें. So what I started to do, नीचे I had to go. My gym was downstairs, so I hired a help and I said, आप उसको ना नीचे garden में खिलाओ. Let her be in the gym only. It doesn't matter. I'll at least get half an hour. Instead of waiting for her to grow up and then me going, I want to do this. Let her come with me. So yeah, I was really that mom who would bring her baby to everything and everywhere. But yeah, I still do that. It's just so much fun. She's older now, but it's fun to take
Right.
her everywhere.
Yeah, I see your stories and post, and she's quite very, she's very hands-on. I think वो सीख रही है. She's learning from you.
Yeah, she's teaching her dad how to cook now. So I remember she was 2.5 years old. I was taking my workshop and she wanted to eat pancakes. So she's 2.5. So she told her dad that dad make pancake. So he's messaging me from on WhatsApp. So I'm checking on my laptop. He's like, she wants to eat pancake. How do I make pancake? Then he's like, never mind, we're done. So basically she knew. So she assembled everything at 2.5. Okay. And then just said, mom doesn't allow me to turn the gas on. So that part you have to.
Hmm.
So he just the gas and they made it. And, So yeah, she's been with me. She's literally been doing everything with me. So
That's really sweet and nice. And I think a good way to make them learn.
yeah, for what these things are chores for us, but for them
It's
it's
fun.
fun activity. It also gives
Yeah.
them a very strong sense of self, and they have a very innate need of contributing. So they feel very confident. So we are contributing to the house, and so it helps. It boosts a lot of confidence for them.
ठीक है तो we talked about your personal life, how you became a sleep consultant, and your motherhood journey. Now I really want to talk about baby sleep. So the cry it out method. इसके बारे में क्या कहना है और जो लोग ये ट्राई कर रहे हैं उनको क्या कहना है?
Firstly, if I always say this, I'm like, your parenting journey is your own. I'm not going to like come to you and say, oh, shame you and say, oh, why are you doing this? As long as you have taken an informed decision, you have read the risks of losing the FOBO method, the cried out method, whatever method you're using, controlled crying, chair method, they all involve crying. Okay. If you have read the risks involved, the emotional impact on your child, and you're making an informed decision, great. Because you're the parent, only you get to make that choice. Okay. But if you're a parent who's getting swayed into doing sleep training, okay, and you don't want to, or your gut is telling you not to, then you and I can talk. Then I'm here for you in that aspect. So I don't want to sit and convince parents who have already taken an informed decision. I'm not here for them. But for the parents जिनको समझ में नहीं आ रहा है या उन्हें पता नहीं है क्योंकि there's very little information available online also जो भी है majorly sleep training से ही related है. Very little few people are talking about the gentle methods of sleep where um, you know it's not sleep is not supposed to be like this कि या तो सिर्फ बच्चा ही सो रहा है और पेरेंट्स रो रहे हैं और नहीं सो रहे हैं या तो पेरेंट्स सो रहे हैं और बच्चा रो रहा है और it doesn't have to be extreme. There is a middle path where we are taking care of the child's sleep so the parent is also getting to rest, which of course I work on those methods I use. But for me personally, not getting into the science of it, just breaking it down in a very simple manner. When you're leaving your child to cry, no matter how long it is, you're leaving them to cry. Understand the emotional impact. This is, experiencing first-hand abandonment from your primary caregivers at such a young age. Okay. And I have interacted with people who have been sleep trained and they remember it. Okay. They remember it. Body remembers it. Okay. It is a traumatic event for a very tiny baby. Body keeps score. We keep the trauma stored in our bodies. Okay. It comes up somewhere. Also, it does not need a lot of science, but a little bit of common sense to understand that if somebody I love and depend on for survival is abandoning me like that, how am I going to feel about it? Right? How is it going to impact me emotionally? Right? We also experience this in our adult relationships. Sometimes when we have these conflicts and everything, and we probably want the person to acknowledge our feelings or support us, and they probably don't do that. It affects us in a very negative manner. And Chandan, I'm talking about you and I as adults who have the ways to emotionally regulate ourselves. Okay, we will still figure out, we'll get up and do something about it. What is the small child supposed to do? Okay, now sleep training is a huge price to pay for those little bit hours of sleep, okay, which were anyway going to get better if you would just manage the routine of it. Also, it's so important to remember that this is temporary. Your child waking up a couple of times is temporary. Also, your child waking up in the night is nature's way of keeping them alive. The REM cycle is where they feed and they eat. They are supposed to be in REM. It keeps them alive. And what sleep training industry doesn't tell you is that sleep training is not foolproof because every time there's a regression or there's some teething या कुछ milestone what आता है, you have to train again. So now you're again doing the whole process. And I don't know, but it goes against your own gut now. Like as a parent, your gut tells you, yeah, my child is crying, I won't grab the child and soothe them. So you're actually going through, the motions against your own gut, where your gut is telling you, this doesn't seem right to me. I don't want to leave my child to cry. Right? So it's just, not getting into science, but just discussing this from a parental perspective also. It just does not feel right at all. Like if there was an adult in my life who would just constantly put me through it, it would impact my relationship with them in an immense, massive manner. Right? It just, it would.
I
Right?
remember the time when my son was born, and I was not against co-sleeping, but I wanted to like him to sleep in a cot. And due to the space constraint in our room, we couldn't do it. And later on, going to your page, reading your post, I realized, I made the best decision of co-sleeping with him and not putting him in the cot. Uh, like, हर किसी की अपनी personal choice है. People are doing it, and it's their way of, uh, making their child sleep. पर मेरे को co-sleeping अब best लगता है. मतलब, it's the best thing that, the bedtime is the best time with my son.
My favorite time. We spend like good half an hour, 40 minutes talking. Always have. It's my most favorite time. Of course, I work with parents who say हमें go sleep नहीं करना है, हमें cot करना है. And I say, okay, I will work with what you want. But then if you're asking me what's the best option, I'm going to be honest with you because my job is to tell you what is right, not what you want to hear. So I tell them, see, this is what co-sleeping will do. And most importantly, co-sleeping allows a mother to rest. Especially if you're breastfeeding, right? You can just literally turn feed in sideline position and go back to sleep. Compared to उठोगे कॉट पे जाओगे बच्चे को लाओगे फीड करोगे वापस ले जाओगे फिर आओगे फिर आते ही तो सोओगे नहीं you lose it'll take you some time to go back to sleep as an adult. You end up losing chunks of sleep in that process. Plus the whole dance of picking up the baby, putting them down in the cot. Sometimes they also wake up. It's just so much easier to co-sleep. Also, when you're co-sleeping, your baby's nervous system is regulated because they're close to you, right? And it also calms them down so nicely, and their senses are engaged over there कि they can आपको smell कर सकते हैं, आपको touch कर सकते हैं, आपको देख सकते हैं, they can hear your heartbeat. तो उनकी senses भी engage हो जाती है. And obviously this physical touch releases oxytocin and serotonin, which is our happy hormone and our mood regulating. तो आपकी बॉडी में भी रिलीज होता है बच्चे की बॉडी में भी रिलीज होता है right. It just makes you feel nice, and we all feel nice, when we're hugging our babies or kids. So yeah, co-sleeping, I mean, if you want to sleep well, I always suggest.
Amrita, there are a few questions that I have, like, जब से मेरा बेटा पैदा हुआ है, he's 3 years old now. There are things that, I've heard, I have seen people doing it. They're working for them, not working for others. Things like using white noise, brown noise. What is your take on it?
So you don't necessarily have to use white noise, but if you live in a joint family, which is like तो obviously noisy रहता है, or you have pets, or you have older kids, siblings जो भाग रहे हैं दौड़ रहे हैं, or you live in a noisy street, all of those things. Obviously, it's always best to then drown out these surrounding noises so your child's sleep is not disturbed. So in that sense, you must use white noise, to let your child sleep peacefully. Because see, in our womb, they have a constant white noise on, which is the sound of our blood. So there's this whoosh whoosh sound that's on. So I don't give this option, like I don't suggest this to everybody. I have personally not used it because it was just me and my daughter the whole day, and we lived in a very quiet society, so we never had this noise kind of show. But jahan pe hai, please wahan pe use. It'll help a lot.
Okay. Breastfeeding to sleep.
We have been breast sleepers for centuries. It's the most biological way of putting your child to sleep. There's nothing wrong with it. It
Because
allows you also to.
I'll tell you what happened with me. My son used to wake up 3 or 4 times while before he turned 1, and he used to go back to sleep after I fed him for a second, for a minute, and I don't know. I advised my friend who was expecting at that time, please don't do it because it was getting tiring for me. I want you to tell me if it's a myth, if I did wrong or right to her child.
Breastfeeding to sleep is honestly the easiest method to put your child to sleep compared to you having to then rock them 4, 5 times, Chandra. Okay, one is that. Second is the most, biologically appropriate, natural way of putting our babies to sleep. Third is, remember I said that रात का feeding तो melatonin भी जाता है बच्चे की body में, correct? But having said that, please always layer in another sleep association so that if you're not available, you're not feeling well, somebody else can take over. Okay, be okay with doing two different methods, breastfeeding, kabhi rocking, different methods try karo. It's also very helpful and healthy for a child to have more attachment figures in the family. It's little less a load on the mom also. The child is also very attached to multiple people in a healthy manner. So, like maybe if the partner is available and if there's a nanny or a grandparent, it's okay. Please continue nursing to sleep, the easiest method, but layer in another association or two, involve one or two more people so that if you're not available, eventually you have to go to work, you're not feeling well. बच्चे sleep suffer नहीं तो वो manage हो जाता
Okay, nap trap. What do you have to say about being like दिन की nap में? Like I remember कबीर मेरे ऊपर सोता था, मैं नीचे रखती थी, वो उठ जाता था.
What age was he at that time?
He was like till the age of 1 he did it.
Okay. So honestly, it's very normal for children, newborns, to sleep in close contact with their primary caregivers. They're wired like that. They cannot manage separation. Now, when I say separation, means when you're separating them away from your body. Okay? So they cannot, so God, universe, biology, whatever you want to believe in, has designed babies in such a way that staying in contact literally keeps them alive. Okay? Now, having said that, some kids also continue to need more contact still as they're growing. They're not okay with, loss of contact, or they're not okay with, sleeping away from somebody. So this is all temperamental. Okay. But as the child crosses 5, 6 months of age, slowly, slowly, we can start trying to put them down on the bed and nap. Of course, you need to support them to sleep and you need to support them to sleep longer during the naps. But you can try to put them down and see. Of course, feeling trapped is crazy. I understand that as a mom, which is why for newborns also, new moms also, I always suggest कि baby wear करो. तो एक रूम में बैठना is also very depressing. I'm never in that favor कि आपको जब तक बच्चे की नींद खत्म नहीं होगी आपको उधर ही बैठे रहना. Invest in a baby monitor, wear a baby carrier so that especially with a newborn, you can just move around. I have done that. I've literally too much information, but I've gone to the washroom with my daughter being like, because I had no other option. Usko rakhti raho, jag jati, and I had nobody in the house and I need to do my business, right? So I've worn her and I've eaten like that. I've gone to the restroom like that. So you can still step out of the room while your baby went. Okay. Another thing is, especially for newborns, small babies, infants, is that initially they don't even know they're born yet. They're so tiny and they don't care who's holding them. They just need to be held. So as a new mom, you can feed and then take family's help in letting the baby, like holding the baby. Like I remember when my sister had my nephew. So they would so she was at my parents' place. So one night my dad would like just put him on him. He's like made my baby also sleep like that. He would just hold her like that. So I could do different things. So one nap he would hold her, one nap my sister would hold him, one nap my dad, and then one nap my mom. And they would all take turns. So everybody would get to rest. And the baby could also get to sleep. So वो इतना छोटा बच्चा उसको पता ही नहीं है कि he's even born, he or she's even born yet. Baby की need है being held, being fed, being held. कौन होल्ड कर रहा है उसको फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा तो आप हेल्प ले लो वहां पे so you don't have to remove contact because the minute you do that you will see baby is not going to sleep तो उसकी we need to work with the child's biology instead of working against it and then we also need to work on it in a way that it's not making us suffer so find ways so yes That is your answer. Long answer to no, nap trapped.
Okay.
And if you're really sorry, if you're really nap trapped और कोई नहीं है आपके पास घर में कोई support
Hmm.
नहीं है, I would hold my daughter and I would just read a book in the room or I would watch something on my phone. So it was not, I wouldn't just sit alone with my thoughts. I would do something. I would study. तो अपने आप को बिजी रखो, कुछ पानी बॉटल रख लो, कुछ स्नैक्स रख लो और मतलब be ready for the next 1 hour.
I I did
Prepared.
I did one Google का course while I was being nap trapped. I remember.
See, it's not that bad.
So, Amrita, tell me, like, 0 to 3 months, we have all heard the toughest time एक बच्चे की जिंदगी में. बच्चे का तो चलो पता नहीं है, वो अपने हिसाब से रात को उठेगा. मम्मी की जिंदगी, और उसको ऐसी
Yeah.
एडवाइस मिल रही है कि भाई आप फॉर्मूला दो तो वो ना आराम से सोएगा. प्लीज, जो न्यू मॉम्स हैं उनके लिए एक एडवाइस, उनको बताओ कि व्हाट इज राइट, इन टर्म्स ऑफ पीडियाट्रिक स्लीप क्या करना चाहिए.
तो फर्स्टली लाइक आई सेड कि जो न्यू बॉर्न्स हैं उनको कॉन्टैक्ट की बहुत जरूरत होती है. प्लीज डोंट थिंक यार आदत लग जाएगी, ये गंदी आदत है जो हम लोग बोलते हैं ना इंडियन फैमिली सच अ बैड हैबिट, यू क्रिएटिंग अ बैड हैबिट. बैड हैबिट इज व्हाट इज अ बैड हैबिट? स्मोकिंग, लाइंग, चीटिंग, ये सब होती है बैड हैबिट्स. बच्चे को पकड़ के रखना बैड हैबिट हो ही नहीं सकती. दिस इज जस्ट नॉर्मल बायोलॉजी यार. इसको बैड मत बनाओ. फर्स्टली योर चाइल्ड इज लिटरली डिपेंडेंट ऑन योर फॉर सर्वाइवल. और अगर आप उसको नीचे रख दोगे तो वो जग जाए. आपका बच्चा जगेगा. तो देर इज, तो या तो आप ये फाइट करते रहो कि नहीं तू नीचे ही सो, नीचे सो. इन दैट केस वो सो नहीं रहा है बच्चा, आप भी सफर कर रहे हो, वो भी सफर कर रहा है. तो प्लीज गिव इन टू दैट, lean into your child's biology and needs and support through contact. So like I said, baby wear करो, फैमिली को बोलो पकड़ने को नैप को, कभी आप पकड़ लो. Do that. Be open to doing this, supporting them to sleep. Okay. Don't keep them awake for very long duration of time because this is the fourth trimester. Our children are doing the last 3 months of rapid growth. So what happens is actually as mammals, if you see other mammals, they have a very long gestation period. राइट. सब हम ह्यूमंस होते हैं जो बहुत, हम प्रीमेच्योरली अपने बच्चा डिलीवर करते हैं. तो एक्चुअली ह्यूमन बेबी इज फुली डेवलप्ड बाय 12 months. बट फिजियोलॉजिकली स्पीकिंग we cannot, we can't house the baby for, imagine being pregnant for 12 months. We can't do that, right? The baby will not fit in the birth canal.
Yeah.
Correct? So, even at 36 or 40 weeks, we are actually delivering the baby prematurely. Okay. So I'm sure you must have heard the term the fourth trimester.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So because now the child has done 3 trimesters inside the womb and they're doing the fourth trimester outside, which is why we always say that you have to give them the same environment. क्योंकि अंदर बहुत कुकून लाइक एनवायरनमेंट में थे, शोर नहीं था, 10 लोग गोदी 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 नहीं खेल रहे थे, कहीं पासिंग द पार्सल नहीं हो रहा था, एंड इतना नॉइज नहीं था, इतने सारे ब्राइट लाइट्स नहीं थी, बच्चे को भूख का कोई एहसास नहीं था बिकॉज देयर वाज कॉन्स्टेंटली फूड अवेलेबल, देयर वाज नो पेन, देयर वाज नो थर्स्ट, देयर वाज नो कॉलिक, नथिंग. सडनली द चाइल्ड इज लाइक thrust out and bright and so many people are talking and the child suddenly feeling scared, tired, hungry, thirsty, colicky, gas, all of those things. So it's difficult, which is why we say that you keep it like, keep it a very nice home like environment. Ensure that your child is not overstimulated. यानी कि हर 1 घंटे में nap दो, 45 minutes to an hour में nap दो. Watch their sleep cues, hold them for naps. Use white noise if you need to use that. Please continue skin to skin contact to boost your own. If you've decided to breastfeed, please, whatever amount you breastfeed, please, golden liquid for your child. So please consider breastfeeding. First 3 months, we advise not to pump because it can lead to oversupply, because your supply takes around 3 months to get regulated. So we don't want all of that to happen. Also, अगर आप formula introduce करते हो तो that gives your body a signal to reduce that 1 or 2 feeds. You start to make those feeds lesser. So don't fall into the formula trap. And then you see the child has started to take the bottle over the breast because, bottle is more free flowing. So child does not have to work to draw the milk out. When the child is breastfeeding, they have to work. If they don't work the muscles, milk is not coming out. But in the formula, bottle है free flowing. So you start to see nipple confusion होने लगता है, and then you start to see that bottle preference होने लगती है over breastfeeding. तो ये सारी चीजें फिर impact होती है. Breastfeeding relationship पर journey impact होती है. So meet a good, if you're struggling with latching, you want to know more about breastfeeding, meet a good lactation consultant wherever you are. Take their support, latch check करवाओ. ये सारी चीजें करो, inform yourself, arm yourself with this right information, because अभी information available है. Now we have, experts like pediatric sleep expert, we have a lactation consultant, we have a doula, we have all these things that were not, these careers, these people who were not there before. Now earlier it was just like gynecologist ने बच्चा पैदा कर दिया, वही आपको information दे रहा है, या तो अब आप pediatrician के पास जा रहे हो या gynecologist के पास जा रहे हो. Now you have child nutrition expert, everything. So we are understanding more about lip tie and tongue tie now. पहले नहीं होता था, right? So that also impacts sleep and impacts breastfeeding and all of those. So arm yourself, empower yourself, because only when you have the right information will you not fall into the trap of pressure from family and society. कि नहीं ऐसे ही करना है, वैसे ही करना है, क्योंकि आपके पास खुद ही information नहीं है तो आप उनको क्या बोलोगे. But when you are rightly informed, you have the confidence. When you have the confidence, you're going to choose right for your child, no matter what others around you are going to tell you to do. So and I always say this, in today's day and age of information on our fingertips, ignorance is a choice. If you're ignorant, you're making a choice to be that, because see, our parents did not have that choice. Now when we were being raised, the only Google was the community around them. वो जो भी information दे रही है वही लेते थे और वही सही होती है, या जो pediatrician बोल रहा है, correct? अब वो नहीं है, right? So you have to empower yourself and arm yourself so that you can continue choosing the right way for your child.
So,
Yeah.
new moms or to be moms and to be dads, please, please, please read before you bring this little one into the world. And
Read from,
yeah, read from the
sorry,
right
read,
sources. Yes, read from the right sources, and don't, you have to cut through the noise. And eventually, when you see information जो आपको लगता है कि ये natural नहीं है और बहुत ही made up है या सिर्फ ऐसे आपको एक वायरल हुक के लिए है, तो आई थिंक पीपल आर स्मार्ट इनफ टू फिगर आउट कि ये सही नहीं है. तो अमृता, quickly just tell me 0 to 3 months how much sleep is needed for a baby.
we are looking at 16 to 18 hours a day, including
and
night sleep.
and 3 to 1, like 3 to 12 months, 3 months to 12
Then
months.
it's just around half months is when your child can start to form a nap routine and sleep starts to become a little more adult-like, the sleeping cycles. So then you're looking at them to go on, say, 4 naps, and with around 4.5 hours of day sleep and 10 to 12 hours of night sleep. Then when they are around 6 months of age, they go to 3 naps. And they need around, again, they continue needing around 15 hours of sleep. Then at 8 months, they go to 2 naps, wherein we're looking at 3 to 4 hours of day sleep and 10 to 12 hours of night sleep. And after 1 year, it still stays like that. And then between 15 to 18 months, they usually drop that second nap and they go down to 1 nap. It still needs around 2.5 to 3 hours of nap in the day with that one consolidated nap. And they need around 10 to 12 hours of night sleep. And obviously, some kids drop to 1 nap much earlier also, and a lot of kids do much later also. Depends. And then between 3.5 to 5 is when they drop that plus nap, and then they go to 12 hours of night sleep. So at a
What about
stretch.
what about the preschoolers, like toddlers who are going to the play groups or to the play schools? Like my son dropped sleeping in the day completely.
Your child needs, preschoolers continue needing 12 hours of total night sleep if they're not doing naps.
So it's okay if they are not doing naps.
No, ideally we still say कि at least 3.5 से पहले तो हम नहीं drop करना चाहते. 3.5, 4 tak, the later the better. But honestly, sleep is not one size fits all. You can, and even before they fully drop the nap, you will have fluctuation where they're refusing the nap. There's a 3-year-old regression also. At 2.5 पे भी होता है. So you will see signs of nap drop, and then you'll see कि nap अगर ले लेते हैं तो night sleep भी 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock हो रही है, push हो रही है. And a child is able to fairly sustain without a nap. But obviously, we do some quiet time. But if putting your child to nap has become a struggle consistently, and if they don't nap, they're giving you a peaceful night sleep of 12 hours, then maybe it's okay. After 3 years plus, you can drop the nap. But you need to follow the child's lead. Don't drop it because you feel they need to drop it. Watch out for those signs.
Okay.
And then they continue 12 hours.
I
Then they
lost.
continue need 12 hours of sleep up till say 5.5 years. Then they need around 11 hours of sleep.
Okay, so one thing you've also talked about in your on your page was using of Jhulas. I want you to just talk a little bit about it.
So Jhulas, not using of Jhulas per se.
हाँ हाँ.
So Jhula is a huge SIDS risk. Okay. Um, because when your child is sleeping, especially a chota bacha, infant is sleeping, they need to sleep in a very flat position. Okay, they need to sleep on a firm, flat position. The neck needs to be like this. Okay. Now, what happens is when you're putting your child in the Jhula, the neck is like this, which restricts the breathing. Okay, imagine this is a neck. It's going to restrict your child's breathing. It's supposed to be like this. Okay. Now, that is not okay. That's absolutely not okay. Chula it poses a huge SIDS risk for your child. It's also very highly habit forming. So your child is constantly sleeping these motion, naps. So it gets very difficult to wean it off. Eventually, I worked with cases where a child is 3 years old and they're still in the Jhula. It's getting very difficult. The parent has never traveled anywhere because they have to then pack the whole Jhula and go, take it with them. So it's highly habit forming also. And it's difficult to then move around. Your child constantly gets used to that motion nap, to sleep, fall asleep, stay asleep. So that is one difficulty that you will face. Plus, it also poses a safety hazard. So I've had cases where the child has actually started to roll over and fallen from the Jhula. So it's a huge safety hazard. It's just not worth it. So it's so much better if they sleep in the crib or on the bed in a safe manner.
Okay, so before I let you go, I want you to tell the new parents, like who are would-be parents or just into this, newborn phase. How do they prepare themselves? What can they do?
Okay, so you don't have to honestly हमें बोलते हैं ना कि अब ये खरीद लेना और वो पॉट ले लो और अब ये बैसिनेट ले लो और क्रिब ले लो वो सब खरीदने की जरूरत नहीं है अगर आप थोड़ा सा सेफ को स्लीपिंग प्रैक्टिसेस पे आप अगर पढ़ेंगे तो आप सेफ को स्लीपिंग कर सकते हैं इफ यू आर अ पेरेंट who does not want to co-sleep wants the child to be in a crib then probably get a crib that gets attached to the mama bed so the mama side the mother side of the bed so the mom can just turn and take care of the baby it will help her sleep better arm yourself with the right sources of information read up a lot understand your child's biological needs at that time don't go against those because you will then get into a tussle also drown out the noise around you because आपको बोला जाएगा हमने तो आपको ऐसे सुलाया था या आप ऐसे थे बट अंडरस्टैंड जब हम बच्चे थे तो अब उस चीज को 30-40 साल हो चुके हैं दुनिया आगे बढ़ गई है जब हमारे बच्चे बड़े होंगे तब तक दुनिया और आगे बढ़ जाएगी तो हम भी नहीं बोल सकते कि ओ वी डिड दिस फॉर यू बिकॉज द वर्ल्ड इज there's so many advancements so much research now that's happening in the field of sleep per se and pediatric sleep and all like 40 years ago there was this baby sleep was not even heard of. Baby sleep coach or a pediatric sleep expert was not even heard of. Okay, there was no lactation consultant, nothing. Now, world is advancing. There's so much information available. The way we were raised, that world does not exist anymore. Everything has changed. So, when we know better, we do better. So, in order for us to do better for our children, we need to know because otherwise we'll not know. We will not, do it. हमें पता ही नहीं क्या करना है, how to best support our child's needs. So, read up, take courses. One mistake that I did as a mom was I focused a lot during the pregnancy period. So I did lamas and I did all of this breathing and all, and not realizing कि यार वो तो 9 months का ही है. Pregnancy just like lasts for 9 months. What after that? Focus was just to get through the pregnancy, of course. But after that का तो कुछ preparation ही नहीं किया, ध्यान ही नहीं है. तो आप उस पे ही focus करो. प्रेगनेंसी निकल जाएगी जैसे तैसे आप of course prepare for childbirth but also prepare for what happens after the
After
child is
that.
here that's so important because that will last a couple of years till your child grows up so prepare for that don't forget to prepare for that and very importantly I do want to emphasize on this that please read up about postpartum depression postpartum psychosis postpartum blues especially the partner needs to sensitize themselves themselves to this, because if the mom is going through this, she will be in no position to reach out to someone. She'll not even be in a position to sometimes understand कि क्या हो रहा है उनके साथ. So in that case, a partner needs to know this, sensitize the family. The partner needs to understand and watch out for those signs. And in case they need to seek for help, he can do so on her behalf for her. So this is a very, very important aspect, the mental health of the mother once the baby is here, because that will impact the child also in a huge manner. So don't overlook that.
So you are a very strong, you have a very strong voice about postpartum depression. I've seen you raising voice, like raising awareness about it. I've also seen like you started a pledge also. Yeah, campaign
Yeah.
also. So I want our listeners to support Amrita in that. I'll share the link in the description also about her campaign. And please tell our listeners how can they contact you, contact you.
So they can contact me. They can leave a email on my website, which is momuninterrupted.com. They can reach out to me on Instagram, which is momuninterrupted. That's my handle name. They can also reach out to me on my email. I'm available there, and they can have a look at, if they're looking for some sleep support, they can have a look at my website. I offer different programs for different durations, from 1 week to 2 weeks to 10 days to a month. I have different variations of programs available. I also do group workshops occasionally. And so if they are, looking for support in terms of sleep, they can reach out to me anywhere, either मेरे email पे, website पे या Instagram page पे.
Amrita is very active on her Instagram. She replies. She replies to all your concerns. तो मतलब
But मैं available हूँ. ऐसे भले ही मैं actually post करूँ नहीं करूँ, DMs में I'm available.
हाँ, तो मतलब आप अमृता को डीएम करोगे, अमृता आपकी हेल्प करेगी. अगर आप स्ट्रगल कर रहे हो अपने बेबी स्लीप के साथ, प्लीज प्लीज एंड प्लीज कॉन्टैक्ट अमृता. उसका मैजिक विल हेल्प यू एंड योर बेबी स्लीप पीसफुली.
This is the mother of podcasts. This podcast is available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Facebook.